What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Today we are doing the championship review for what went on this weekend. Sorry about the lighting, I've had to record this at an earlier time due to restraints I have in my university, but you're going to get the video at the same time I normally do it. Wow, we've got a lot of games to cover. We've got some really key moments. East Midlands side's not starting very well at the moment. We've still got 6 sides looking for their first win of the season. We've got some dramatic results to go over as well that we'll all cover. If you've got a correct score petition, your comment will be on the screen right now. And a lot of you did. Fair play, a lot of you. You all did better than what I did, let me tell you. This is what the Lexus Hall of Fame lists are now. I'm still in pole position with 10 correct predictions over the 3 weeks. I actually managed to get 2 correct predictions, 1 championship and 1 Premier League one. The championship one I managed to get correct was the Wycombe and Swansea game. A lot of you did correctly predict that as well. And I also got Brighton 2, Man United 3 completely right amidst all that controversy that went on in that game. But this is a championship video, so we're going to go through the controversy in the championship specifically. If you guys want to follow me on Discord, where we talk a lot about football games and you're always in the front of the queue to my videos, you could join from the link up there. It's a permanent link, so you should be able to join it no matter what time you see this video in the future. And if you like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It tremendously helps right now, especially when I've now returned back to uni. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. If you haven't seen me before, my name's Alex. I do football content and championship content as often as I can. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. We want to try and push for 300 subscribers as soon as we can, and to really go for 1,000 subscribers before the championship season ends this year, because I want to do a collaboration with BenHD. He's agreed that we could do one if and on my behalf that I hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys want to see that collab happen, please subscribe to the channel, and to do that, please share my channel to all your friends, all the people that might like this video, all championship fans, all football fans. All of that would really make my day, and it will definitely make the channel grow, I promise you. But without any further ado, let's go through what went on in the championship in week 3. So we'll start off with Friday's game, Huddersfield and Nottingham Forest, which ended as a 1-0 victory to Huddersfield, then picking up their first win of the season. Nottingham Forest still looking for their first win of the season, and the pressure is already mounting on Sabri Lamucci 3 games in. From a run stretching to the end of last season, Nottingham Forest are now in 9 games without a win in all competition, only picking up 2 draws in their last 9 games, which is absolutely disappointing run of form. With the game overall, it was a little bit quiet. You know, both sides were really lacking in the confidence, especially in the final third. Although Huddersfield, to be fair to them, they really took the game to Nottingham Forest. Previously, you know, they had glimmers of good moments, but they just did not look promising at all. But for minute 1, Huddersfield looked really, really good, especially with their pace going forward. And from the return of Fraser Campbell, he returns with a goal. A really well-taken goal as well. Huddersfield had to survive a couple of scares. Sammy Amiobi having a shot well saved by Hamer in goal, and also Mbe So having a shot saved. But Huddersfield got their goal. Some terrific play to the left-hand side, and Toffolo will get a load of credit with the cross. And Fraser Campbell scoring a volley from that cross. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant technique. Caught it right. Breeze Salmon couldn't do anything about it, and that made it 1-0. And apart from those chances in the first half for Forest, they didn't have a shot on target in the second half, which was what really disappointed me. I thought Sabri Lamucci was going to change some things. He's trying a load of things. He introduced Harry Arter, who he recently bought on his full debut. Same with Scott McKenna, but even that, it's not improving Nottingham Forest. They just don't look like they ever look like scoring. I don't know what's the purpose of Nottingham Forest, which is really, really scary for me at the moment. Huddersfield, though, they'll be pleased with this win. They could definitely push on for this season now, and for me, if they just continue that performances, they'll definitely get more positive results. So now we go to the return of the M1 derby, which ended as a 1-0 victory to Watford. Watford have still not conceded a championship goal, although they nearly did against Luton Town. James Collins would be absolutely kicking himself if he didn't score. Some great play by Luton on the right-hand side, and Collins just had the easiest of tasks to tap in the net, but it hit the crossbar and out. Very unlucky on his part, and that would have been Watford's first goal they conceded in the championship, but they still remain with 3 clean sheets in a row, which is absolutely brilliant for them. And Watford, to be fair to them, they were really poor against Newport, but they really stepped up their game against Luton Town. Reece Lawrence-Davies got away with a blinder here. He misplaced a pass which managed to get João Pedro a fantastic shot on goal, but Simon Sluga, to be fair to him, had a man of the match winning performance. He kept the scoreline down because Watford had some terrific chances. We saw players returning like Sarr, who I actually think had a terrific influence. Ngakia also had a great game, but João Pedro was the man of that game. He was absolutely brilliant. On his 19th birthday, wow, he's younger than me. On his 19th birthday, he managed to score his goal. Some terrific play between Seymour, who manages to lift the ball to him. He strikes a clean shot past Sluga that made it 1-0 to Watford. And they could have scored a few more since if Sluga did not make all those terrific saves. To be fair to Foster, apart from that scare from James Collins, Luton did not look too threatening going forward. They were a little bit slow and pedestrian-like, which is a bit disappointing with Nathan Jones's part. But Luton still have got 6 points on the ball, so they'll be pleased with their start. 6 points out of 9 is not a bad start. With Watford right now, they're still undefeated, not conceded a goal. If they continue this up, then I think Watford could potentially have a good season. They still have players like Troy Deeney returning from injury as well. You know, Watford, I feel like now are going to start gelling, and this was the first complete performance I've seen from Watford so far. So I'm really excited to see how they'll thrive in the Championship now. And then are we already going to discuss relegation with Wycombe Wanderers, who lose again at home, this time to Swansea from 2-0, still not scoring a goal in the Championship. Unfortunately for Wycombe, they just got completely outclassed with the passing from Swansea. They just could not deal with the pace going forward. They couldn't deal with Morgan Gibbs-White, who was absolutely terrific, by the way. But it was Andre Ayew scored a goal, some terrific play with Morgan Gibbs-White involved. Ayew managing to get just enough of a touch through the line that made it 1-0 to Swansea. And for their second goal, it was Jamal Lowe. There was a little bit of a hint of an offside in the build-up. They checked it again, but it was Tarfazoli's right leg, I think, who played Jamal Lowe onside. He managed to score an easy tap-in, and that made it 2-0. And unfortunately, from then on, Wycombe did not look like getting back into it. Swansea were fantastic in the first 30 minutes. The rest for 90 minutes, though, they were a little bit lackluster. They didn't really test Allsop in Wycombe's goal in the second half at all. I think they just kind of sat with the result. Their game management was great, but could they have killed the game off a little bit more? Personally, I think they could have. They could have scored more if they had a little bit more in the tank. Wycombe just never looked like scoring, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'm already putting them in contention of being the worst Championship side. It sounds really, really harsh. I mean, the worst Championship side in terms of points was Rotherham in the 2016-17 season with 23 points. Guess when they got their first win of the season? Match week 4, and that is Wycombe's next game. Could Wycombe potentially get their first win in that? I mean, it'll be absolutely destiny if it does happen, but they need to get that first win as soon as they can, because if it continues and they don't score any goals, Wycombe are going to have a long, hard season. Then we go to the 3 o'clock. We start off Barnsley 0, Coventry 0. Bit disappointing that none of these sides scored. For over the 90 minutes, I say Barnsley came closest to scoring. They definitely had more clear-cut chances. Coventry barely looked threatening going forward. In fact, they did come the closest to be scored, having said that. So I've kind of been a bit of a hypocrite there. Matt Gordon managing to win a header from a corner, but hitting the bar. He was unfortunate he didn't score there. But apart from that, that was the only time Coventry looked like that they were going to score. Barnsley had moments of good play, but unfortunately in the final third, you know, it just wasn't up in quality, very low in quality, and Marossi managed to make some easy saves in the end. You know, he didn't really look all that troubled in Coventry's goal at all. Only 2 shots on goal in the whole entire game. Coventry did not even have a shot on target. So that wraps up this game. Barnsley got the first point on the board, which I think they'll be happy with. Coventry are still doing relatively well. 4 points out of 9 is not bad. Let's move on from this game. So another match that ended in a draw. This time Birmingham and Rotherham, and this game took a very long time to get cooking, in my opinion. It took 87 minutes, in fact, for the first team to score. And for me, I feel like it was deserved. Rotherham, I feel, was slightly stronger than Birmingham throughout the game. They were the ones really answering the questions. Birmingham, I had said it, I do fear that, you know, under Ida Karanka, whilst he's very good defensively, offensively, they can look a little bit blunt going forward. Rotherham looked more threatening. Angus McDonald had a terrific chance, and Neil Everett has to make quite a few good saves to keep Birmingham in it and keep the scoreline down. But the game eventually went to life in the 87 minutes when Miles got fouled by Jeremy Bella. Stonewall penalty. Kieran Sadia stepped up and managed to score his penalty. That made it 1-0 to Rotherham. But a couple of minutes later, dramatically, Birmingham keep a draw, and as Billy Jones fouling Torrell in the box, definitely a penalty once again. And it was actually the one who conceded the penalty, Jeremy Bella, who stepped up. He scored it, he redeemed himself. That made it 1-1 in the end of the 90 minutes. Birmingham will be happy that they're still unbeaten in the league and only conceding 1 goal in 3 games, and especially with that one being a penalty as well. They'll be proud of that, although only scoring 2 goals in 3 games so far, and 1 of those goals being a penalty. I do fear Birmingham are not going to be scoring enough goals. As with Rotherham, they'll be proud they've got a win and a draw, just like their fellow newly promoted club Coventry City, doing much better than Wycombe right now. For me, Rotherham do definitely have what it takes. If they just improve their game management, I feel like Rotherham can definitely secure themselves, in my opinion. And Reading continue their miraculous form at the moment. 3 wins out of 3, a 2-1 victory against Cardiff, where Cardiff looked so good last week. They were completely flat this week. Now, first half was really bad, really. It was so bad, I'm going to leave it there. The game went back to life in the second half, where Reading got the breakthrough. It was a terrific free kick, and Michael Morrison managed to win a header. That made it 1-0 to Reading. I believe it was Olise who actually made the free kick, so it was fantastically delivered by him. Then Lucas João, continuing his goal-scoring form, doubled the lead. Nicely worked by him. Although Cardiff had a bit of a lifeline, Reading did concede their first goal in this game by Lee Tomlin. A little bit fortunate how he managed to poke the ball through. That made it 2-1. But despite that, Reading dug deep very well and kept the win. 9 points out of 9. I mean, they are on absolute fire at the moment. How long can Reading keep this going? Because with the Championship, anyone can win it, in my opinion. But it all counts on momentum. Reading are on the good side of the momentum right now. If they could just keep it as long as they can, Reading could potentially be a contender, and I would have never seen that coming. As for Cardiff, it's disappointing. 1 win and 2 defeats so far this season. Cardiff are a team that you should never write off. You know, if they were to have a defeat, they can definitely bounce straight back. And I don't think Cardiff will have a bad season following for what I've seen so far. And then I think to my result of the weekend, Blackburn are on absolute fire. They're scoring 10 goals in the first 3 games. That is at least 3 goals a game. Absolutely unbelievable. You would not want to face Blackburn for an attacking sense right now. And keeping a clean sheet as well, which is absolutely brilliant. 2 clean sheets in a row for Blackburn, which is absolutely unbelievable. Derby, you know, they have a terrible start at the moment. Although Derby did start this game very well. I think it was Max Bird who had a shot from just outside the box, but it was very well defended, cleared off the line. And a couple of minutes later, Blackburn scored 3 goals in 4 minutes. First one came from Tyrese Dolan. I think it was Ben Brereton, who has a poor goal scoring form anyway. He'll be gutted he didn't score this one. He got a shot past Marshall, hit the post, but it went straight to Dolan, who simply had to tap it in. That made it 1-0 to Blackburn. Then Bradley Johnson with a quick break. The first one being absolutely brilliant. He managed to strike it well just outside the box, past the reach of Marshall. Nothing he could do. That made it 2-0. For the third goal, which was literally a minute later, he struck again, got a deflection, and that went in the net. That made it 3-0. And going forward, Blackburn just looks so threatening. Derby did grow into the game just a tad, and despite having some chances, especially from Wozniak, who definitely looks like a really good player, Kaminsky made some really good saves to deny him there, but Derby, unfortunately, just couldn't get their way through. And their 4th goal they conceded was so avoidable. Marshall kicked in. I think it was Rooney who gave the ball away. I think it was Brereton who picked it up, gave it to Adam Armstrong, who simply had to slot it past Marshall, and that made it 4-0 to Blackburn. Right now, Derby, I'm a little bit concerned with it, if I'm going to be honest. You know, they have lost a lot of their players. And I did say in my table prediction, I was a bit worried predicting Derby to finish 8th following the players they've lost. Defensively, they do look a little bit more shambolic now, and even with the players that they have, they've only scored 1 goal in 3 games so far. I mean, that's just not good enough for Derby. As with Blackburn, completely opposite. 10 goals in 3 games, absolutely unbelievable. They're in the top 6. Another side who I think in strong momentum right now. If I could just keep that momentum, Blackburn could have a really good season. I could definitely see it with the attacking players. Blackburn could beat anyone. And then we saw the London derby end as a 1-1 draw. For me, I think the justified result. Millwall, I do have to say, I think this was their best performance I've seen in the first 3 games. First 2 games I was a little bit iffy about Millwall's season, despite with them getting a win against Rotherham. They weren't that great. In the first half, Millwall were absolutely terrific. Their first goal, I mean, I was thinking of putting Bradley Johnson's goal as goal for weekend, but I actually might just put Millwall's as goal for weekend alone. For Mason Bennett, literally be sitting Pontus Jansson down like a little boy. He lost his shoe within the head-to-head, crossed it to Jed Wallace, headed it home. That made it 1-0 to Millwall, and Millwall were terrific. However, Brentford responded very well. They weren't happy with that. They need to make sure that they got something, and they did. Ivan Toney looked very dangerous, and I was glad he got his first goal. He was fouled in the penalty by Sean Hutchinson, definitely a stonewall penalty. Tony stepped up, got his goal. That made it 1-1, and I think Tony can definitely step up now. What really interested me was seeing Cy Benrahma again. He was introduced in the 70th minute. He got a couple of minutes in, did get a little bit of impact when he went on. It's interesting to see whether he's going to start playing as a starter now, or whether if he's just going to be around until he gets a move away, in my opinion. Millwall, great performance. Bit disappointed that they didn't manage to hold on. They definitely had chances to score another goal. Romeo had a shot that came off the post, which he was unlucky about. Millwall can definitely be proud of themselves with this performance. Brentford, I think they'll take this result with open arms. And then with two sides looking for their first win, it was Stoke that got their first championship win with a 1-0 victory, but this was such an unfortunate game for Preston because they were terrific in the opening 20 minutes. They definitely controlled the game and looked the more likely team to score. And Ryan Ledson, by the way, I've not seen a lot of him, but in this game, he looked so dangerous. You know, he's one that I definitely see stepping up. Let's say if Ben Pearson were to leave one day. Ryan Ledson looks such a talent, and I'm really excited to see how he develops as a player. But unfortunately, the game changed when Preston were down to 10 men with Tom Barkhuizen looking like he accidentally slid, but he did go in for a challenge. So it was unfortunate on his part. He got Morgan Fox two-footed him, and unfortunately, with those circumstances, he was going to get a red card, and no arguments made about that. And as soon as Preston were down to 10 men, they just lost control of the game. Stoke, from the rest of the 70 minutes, were the better side, and their goal was absolutely brilliant. Stephen Fletcher, for me, being my man of the match in my opinion, he was absolutely terrific. He slotted a great pass to John Obi Mikel, who charged forward. Unfortunately, poor defensively that no one closed Mikel down. He managed to square across to Lee Gregory, disappointing defending on not tracking his run. Lee Gregory has an easy shot in, and that made it 1-0 to Stoke. And to be honest, Stoke could score more if it wasn't for Declan Rudd having a great performance in goal as well. He made some terrific saves. Now, Sam Klukas had two really good chances as well. McLean had a really good chance. Preston, unfortunately, since going down to 10 men, they just never looked threatening. Now, Neil did try to change some things, you know, to make them more organised, but unfortunately, they just lost all control of the game, and Stoke were very comfortable. Preston right now, I do have a little bit of concern. They do have a tough game against Brentford coming up very, very soon as well. Stoke, I'm happy for them that they got a win. It was due because their performances were a little bit on the up, apart from Bristol City's performance, because I thought they were quite good against Millwall. Finally, they've got a good away performance, and it was against Preston as well, which is a good side as well. I think Stoke can have a positive season following this performance. And to the final Saturday game, we saw Queen's Park Rangers and Millwall drawing a 1-1 draw. Quite an entertaining game, actually. I didn't expect it to be as entertaining as it was. Both sides having so many chances. I would say Queen's Park Rangers started pretty well. Brighter side Samuel, I mean, what a player. On his own, he almost dragged Queen's Park Rangers a couple of goals just from his individual play. Middlesbrough really struggled to deal with him. Although having said that, Middlesbrough did start going into the game, and Sommerlonger did look very dangerous. And it was Middlesbrough who scored the first goal. And it was Chuba Akpom, the former Arsenal striker, on his debut, getting a goal. Paddy McNair with the corner, Akpom with the header. That made it 1-0 to Middlesbrough. It was so easy. It'll be poor defensively on Queen's Park Rangers' part. Disappointing goal for them to concede. They need to definitely work on defending set pieces, because it's another set piece that they've conceded. However, Queen's Park Rangers had a terrific response, and they did manage to equalise with Bright Asai Samuel. Betteleni made a terrific save, but it was unfortunate that his defenders couldn't clear out him parrying the shot away. Bright Asai Samuel got a tap in, that made it 1-1. But I tell you what, Queen's Park Rangers went very, very close. I think it was Samuel who had a shot, came off the post, and it bounced off Betteleni's head, rolled just outside the line, and it was Dale Fry who did a last-ditch tackle to stop the ball going into the net. Unbelievable defending and agonisingly close for Queen's Park Rangers' part. But the game ended 1-1, which I think was the fair result in the end. Neil Warnock still wasn't back on the touchline following he got a positive COVID-19 test. He actually did the team talk on via Zoom, and that was actually quite influential in this game. And they have found a way to actually get him involved in the game despite not being there, which I think is good for them. As for Queen's Park Rangers, it's all right. It's definitely better than what they had previously, you know, when they had a defeat against Coventry. I could definitely see positive results, especially Brighter Side Samuel, who was absolutely terrific once again. And then we go to yesterday's games. We now go to Bristol City 2, Sheffield Wednesday 0. What an unbelievable start for Bristol City. Them and Reading having 100% starts. I didn't think those were going to be the final two sides with a 100% start, let me tell you. But Bristol City, I have to say, you know, if I'm going to be honest, it was a game of two halves, because Sheffield Wednesday definitely had the better opportunities in the first half. Kachunga had a chance, and Windass looked good in areas, but unfortunately for them, they just did not look really good going forward. They had such low quality up front, which does concern me in the long run for Sheffield Wednesday as they try and get rid of their points deduction. But Bristol City, though, great professionals. Dean Holden got the second half spot on. He knew his side were on the back foot. He reinstated the confidence in the side, and they went for it in the second half. And it was brilliant to see. Tommy Rowe got the goal. Some brilliant play, actually, in the lead up for the goal. Bristol City having great one-touch play, split the defence apart. Tommy Rowe sliding in, getting a touch past Cameron Dawson. That made it 1-0 to Bristol City. And overall, since conceding the goal, Sheffield Wednesday just never looked like scoring, which I think is a bit disappointing on their part. But Bristol City, you've got to admire their game management, and they finished the game off. And it's Jamie Patterson, once again, who scored last week. he scored again this week from a throw-in. He managed to get a load of space, managed to shoot in the bottom right-hand corner, and made it 2-0 to Bristol City. I have to tell you this, I mean, Bristol City have had a couple of seasons where they've been so agonisingly close to getting into the top 6 but then fall short. Could this be the season where they get in the top 6? I mean, I'm reserving my judgment, I'm trying to keep calm, and I'm sure a load of Bristol City fans will be trying to keep calm as well. Momentum's a very important word once again. If they can keep their momentum, for more likely for me, I think Bristol City can definitely get up there. And then we got the final game, Bournemouth-Norwich, which ended 1-0 Bournemouth. Is it a deserved result? I mean, in the pattern of play overall, I would say a draw was probably the most fair result, so 1-1 probably. But, having said that, Norwich just did not look like that they were going to have any quality in the final third. I have to say, as a technical point of view, I'm watching the highlights, brilliant football from both of these sides actually. Really intricate play from both of these teams actually, both really positive. Bournemouth didn't have the ball that much, didn't have a load of possession, but they were really dangerous going forward, especially on the counter-attack. And they scored from a great ball from Lerma to find Arnaud Danjuma, who scored a stun against Blackburn. He scores another goal against Norwich. Getting past the reach of Tim Krul. Could he have saved that? I mean, I don't know, but I felt he probably could have saved it, but I feel like it was probably just an even really better goal. That made it 1-0, and that was the only goal in the game. But I will say Norwich did have chances of their own. Begovic made 2 key saves, although Tim Krul made some outstanding saves as well. It was a real end-to-end game, which either side could have won. Norwich, I felt, were the better side in the final 20 minutes when they were trying to look for an equaliser, but what Bournemouth did very well was to intercept their passes and to really frustrate them. And Daniel Farke definitely made a load of changes to try and change things. He brought Jordan Hugo on at one stage, but unfortunately that for him didn't work. Pukki was kept quiet. Apart from having one shot saved by Begovic, he was kept quiet, and Bournemouth will be really pleased with this win so far. It really interests me to see that Bournemouth managed to get the edge over Norwich, and it could fulfill for what I think about Norwich, you know, being the favourite to get promoted with the squad on paper, but results definitely defy your place in the table. So I might not be wrong by saying that Norwich won't be automatically promoted in the top 2. But as with Bournemouth, though, I definitely undermined them, putting them in 9th place in my table predictions. I feel like now, especially with their performance against Manchester City in the Carabao Cup, to be consistent and bring that performance against Norwich as well in the Championship, Bournemouth, I think, will be a really good side this season. I'm excited to see how they will also adapt in the Championship alongside with Watford. But that's all the Championship games covered. Here is the table for Week 3. So the key teams to look at this. Bristol City and Reading, 9 points out of 9. Absolutely incredible. But the rest of the top 6, Swansea, Bournemouth, Watford and Blackburn. Definitely not the top 6 I was expecting. I don't think any expected really. Luton fall out of the top 6 in 7th place. Luton right up there, by the way, which is really good for them. Birmingham 8th, Millwall 9th, Brentford 10th. Brentford not too far behind there. Queen's Park Rangers and then Coventry making up the top half of the table. Then for the rest of it, you've got Norwich dropping down like a stone after that. Rotherham, Stoke, Cardiff and Huddersfield making up from 13th to 17th. And then we've got 6 sides still looking for their first win. Middlesbrough, Preston, Barnsley, Nottingham Forest and Derby and Wycombe looking for their first win. And of course, last place, Sheffield Wednesday with -8, but of course they have picked up their first win. Look at the East Midlands sides, 22nd and 21st respectively. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That is really, really shocking. Could you see both East Midlands rivals get relegated? It's impossible. I mean, it would be absolutely crazy and bonkers to predict that, but it can happen right now based on performances. So before we move on to my predictions, because I am going to predict the Premier League Monday games and the Carabao Cup games as well, so get ready for that. My player of the weekend, really tough to pick. I'm actually going to pick it to João Pedro. He was absolutely brilliant, made the load of the opportunities Watford had happen, and to score on his 90th birthday, I think it's deserved that he gets something from it. He's going to get my player of the weekend. My result for weekend has to be Derby 0, Blackburn 4. I mean, Blackburn are on absolute fire going forward at the moment. Blackburn are definitely going to be the most pleasing side to watch right now. And then the goal for weekend, quite a few contenders. I mean, I tell you what, if that Stephen Fletcher shot went in, that would have been my goal for weekend, probably my goal for season. But for me, I think I'm going to edge it to Bradley Johnson's first goal against Derby. But now let's move on to my predictions for the upcoming games this week. So we'll start off with the Premier League games. We've got Fulham going up against Aston Villa, a repeat of the playoff final a couple of years ago. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be really, really tight. I think Fulham will get their first point. Liverpool-Arsenal, match 1. Okay, I'm going to say 2-2 actually. I'm going to see a very unexpected result, I think. Then we go to the Carabao Cup game. Spurs versus Chelsea. I mean, Spurs were given a bye to make it to this stage in the competition following that Leighton Orient had a load of their players getting a positive COVID test. There's no doubt about it, Spurs should have won their game against Newcastle, and with Chelsea, disappointing first half but brilliant second half. I think Spurs will be up for this because I feel like they were very hard done by against Newcastle. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Spurs, begrudgingly, but hopefully that may mean that Chelsea win to make sure my prediction goes wrong. Newport, Newcastle, not easy. I'm going to say 1-1, but Newcastle to win on penalties. I can see that. Burnley, Man City. I mean, what has happened to Man City against Leicester? They were absolutely awful, but I think they'll recover. I'm going to say 3-0. They tend to recover well when they have a really bad defeat. Brighton, Man United. God, part 2 from the weekend. The first game was absolutely crazy. How on earth did Brighton not get anything out of it? I'm going to say 2-1 Brighton. I actually think Brighton will really step up for this. I think they'll get their revenge served cold in this game. Then we've got Everton, West Ham. Oh, I mean, I tell you what, West Ham are really ripping rules apart. So maybe they can step up this game and having a really good game against Everton, who have started well. I'm going to say 2-2. But West Ham to win on penalties. I'm going to go for a bit of a shock. Brentford, Fulham. Wow, a repeat of last year's playoff final. Wow, okay. I think Fulham will be alright with this one. I'm going to say 1-0 away victory to Fulham. Aston Villa, Stoke will be close. I'm going to say 2-1 to Stoke. The James Chester derby, actually, now that I think about it. Now we've got Liverpool and Arsenal again. Match 2. Now, I think it's going to be a similar result to the one in the Premier League, but I think Arsenal going to edge here. I feel like with Arsenal, they take cup competitions very seriously, likewise with Chelsea. I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal, but could be wrong on that one. But that wraps it up for today's video. That's all the football covered. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys like what we see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It is tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. We want to push for 1,000 subscribers as soon as we can, so I could do a collaboration with BenHD. That would really, really make my day. If you haven't done, please share my channel. That is how I'm going to grow in subscribers. That would really, really make my day. But that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw any of this video. And as always, take care, guys.